All right, so we're recording. Hello, everyone. Uh, and hello. I hope internet. Hopefully, we'll get this recorded and put up on YouTube. I'm Tim Shu in the Department of Mathematics and Statistics at San Jose State. And joining us today, as you can see from this wonderful slide here, are John Cooper, Aaron Horiuchi Green, Michael Montgomery, Mahmoud Ramatullah, and Judy Garcia of the indicated affiliations. And so sort of now that we've shown this, I think what I'm actually going to do, because this seemed to work better in our little trials, is I'm gonna stop sharing the screen. So now you see where everybody is from, and so but we'll go through all that again. I'm gonna stop sharing the screen, and hello, and so we're just gonna have talking heads for a bit. Uh, Gallery, okay. Yeah, no, that's not as good. So speaker. So hopefully so is everybody seeing me in the big window? Is that the deal? Because I'm going blah blah blah. Yes. Okay. Uh, okay. Well, so maybe I'll actually go through and pin everybody. So I'll just spotlight myself briefly. So hello everybody. Welcome. Thank you very much for coming here and participating in our however many I think we just must have been about Judy. I think you've been a lot of these, like must be for at least 10 years now, right?
I've been at least four or five of them, so
Yeah, so I think
you've been longer than I've been here.
seven. I'll have to look up how many we've done, how times we've done this, but this is at least the seven or eighth
That's great.
career day we've had at the for San Jose State Department of Math and Statistics. I want to remind everybody that who is here live that we are recording this for sure to the cloud and hopefully eventually to YouTube. So I'm just going to say, if you open up your mic and ask a question, that is you're giving us at least implicit permission to show up because I told you to show up on at least on our local network and hopefully on YouTube. So we really would like your explicit permission if you would. So the thing I keep putting over and over and over again on the chat is a release form that if you want to ask a question live, please fill that out and make sure that I get a copy so there won't be any problems going forward. All right. That being said, I'd like to sort of just go through in order and ask. So we'll have our four panelists today, and then sort of four alumni panelists, and Judy talk, and then have Judy talk. But first, the four alumni panelists will talk about what kind of math stats degree they have, what their current job is, how they got that job, and what role mathematics and statistics, a word I still cannot pronounce, no matter how many years I've been in this business, mathematics and statistics plays in your day-to-day work. So, John, let's start with you.
Yeah. Hi guys. Sorry, could you repeat that degree I have, how I got the job, and then what role math stats plays in my
Wait, hey, I can spotlight more than one person now. This is a new thing. Okay, so I'm going to do that. So first of all, what's your degree from San Jose State?
so I have a degree in statistics in MS. And yeah, my undergrad is applied mathematics.
Okay, and what's your current job?
Oh, okay. I think I got it now. What's my current job, how I got the job, what role? Okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
my
yeah.
current
Okay.
job, yeah, okay, beautiful. Yeah, I'm a data scientist at Pacific Northwest National Laboratory. It's kind of all encompassing, so it's not like a like business facing data science role where you'd be dealing with like a lot of dashboarding and business logistics. I consider myself like a machine learning researcher, both applied and just regular research. How I got the job, so I actually got this internship in the National Security Directorate for one of their internship programs over the summer, and that was while I was at San Jose State. And so I took that up during the summer, and then I was just an intern there my entire time at SJSU. And then, so like, what role do math and stats play in my work? So it's funny because I'm in machine learning, so a lot of that is, kind of glosses over a lot of the mathematics and statistics that underpin it, especially the statistics. Basically, like most of machine learning, if you guys don't already know, is linear algebra. It's basically all it is. It's linear algebra, calculus. So like back propagation, forward propagation, these are calculus concepts. It's just like reverse chain rule. As far as what like a few things that I've done that are very like math related, and that's some things you'll probably do in your classes at San Jose State if you were able to take these. So like unsupervised like clustering. So Professor Tortora is really big on clustering. This is I guess an umbrella for dimensionality reduction. That's a really big one. Using distance metrics, especially not just between vectors, which I do, but between entire data sets. So kind of understanding the dimensionality reduced attributes of image data sets and comparing multiple data sets using certain metrics. So that's a lot of math. Confidence intervals, error bounds on experimental like model runs. So this is something that's very important, and that's really it's a time consumption thing, so it's very hard to get error bounds on our experiments, but we do when we can. So I mean, for example, like we'll do 3 experiments and slap a confidence interval on it, although we know that that's nowhere near approximating normality. It doesn't provide us the assumptions we need to actually produce those, but hey, like the standard error here and there never hurt. So we do use those. And then like pixel dimension math just for images. So like just knowing it's like basic algebra, right? Like how do we describe the pixels, their placement, their position within an image, right? So it's a 2D grid, it's a graph. So a lot of that. Data augmentation techniques. So mathematically based distortion. So you have like Gaussian noise, things like this that we apply to images. And basically, this is applying a distortion pixel by pixel using standard deviation, using the mean of the image, using image-based attributes, right? So a lot of that stuff. So noise perturbation would be a big one. Another one that I have like expertise in is like transformer-based math. So transformer models, if you don't know, they're what underpin all large language models currently. So like ChatGPT, all of that stuff. So I work a lot with transformers. And transformers themselves, they're vague and weird and opaque, but they use a lot of linear algebra. And a lot of what they do is based on matrix multiplication. Like they have these things called self-attention and cross-attention, and all that is matrix multiplication. So there are a lot of ways you can actually um, change that multiplication, change the way things are done through very simple linear algebra techniques to actually encourage better performance. Another one that's really interesting, meta learning, few shot learning, and zero shot learning. So these are all basically they're like buzzwords, but they mean how do we predict things when we only have like one instance, like one example? Like I want to know, what all elephants look like, and I only have a picture of a single elephant. How do I actually do that with confidence, right? And so this is a very interesting field because it has a lot to do with Bayesian statistics and prior distributions. So the probability of seeing X, given that we've seen all of this data and then one example of an elephant. How do we actually produce a likelihood for this next prediction? Like when we oh, sorry guys, my puppy turned off my power strip. Okay. Hey, okay. Um, but yeah, a lot of Bayesian statistics in meta learning, few shot learning. Yeah, if you would like to follow up on that. And then there was one more I was thinking of. Mass spectrometry is something I work a lot with. I'm trying to think of the math that underpins that, but I can't for the life of me remember. I will get back to you if I remember that.
Thanks, John. I realize I have a naive question that I should have
Yeah.
asked about earlier. What is I've never actually heard of the Pacific Northwest National Labs until you told me. So what are they?
So yeah, they're a DOE lab based in Washington, and they're like one of like 8 DOE labs. So like you have like Sandia, Lawrence Livermore. One of those labs is actually doing, I think it's the nuclear fusion right now, and they're kind of killing it, producing more energy than they put in. So it's just part of the national lab system. And yeah, I don't know why they're recruiting, in my area, but it was a good thing. So, and I'm currently in Seattle right now.
Do you need a security clearance for this?
Um, so it depends, right? So there are several directorates within the national lab. So I, for example, I'm part of the National Security Directorate, and yeah, there is a lot of work on there which requires clearance. But there are energy sectors and like renewable energy sectors. There's marine biology stuff that you wouldn't require that would require that, and it still requires a lot of math, at least certain subsets within those directorates.
Oh yeah, well, because I know that at Livermore, there's some places that are unsecure, and then I have an old friend who works there, and I said, oh, this is a pretty mellow place, and like, well, and then she said, like, well, there's the other part of it where there's machine guns and helicopters, and there's gigantic alarms, and there's a big tent over the top, so you can't see what's underneath it. So there are places
Yeah,
like that.
Um, it not in the Seattle office. I don't know what they have at the Richland office, which is Eastern Washington, but yeah, a lot of the DOE labs, like they have a large breadth, right, of things they do, and a lot of that is there's a security director component, but a lot of it is not. So Sandia and those ones, they're very nuclear oriented, so I think it's a lot more clearance oriented as well. But Pacific Northwest is not so much like that. Yeah, there's a
I
lot of
see.
stuff to do there. Yeah.
So if the aliens are hidden anywhere, they'd be in Eastern Washington.
Yeah, don't go to Eastern Washington. It's also really cold over there. It's like it's literally like yeah, the last time I heard is like 2 degrees. So yeah.
Okay. And well, thank you, thanks, John. And John has
Yeah,
made
of course.
the very important point. So I guess I should set, especially since we had a bunch of new people come in, I should set some repeat some of the ground rules. One of which is that if you want to ask a question out loud, it's going to get recorded and put on YouTube, and so you're warned right now. So hopefully, um, it it won't yeah, so hopefully you're giving it your implicit release now, and so please also but we'd all like to have your explicit release. So please, there's a link on the chat. If you haven't already and you want to ask a question out loud, please click on the link and fill out the release form. It's very short, and make sure that you put at the end that Tim Shu. I'll put my email address on the chat. Tim.shu@sjsu.edu. Make sure that I get a copy of that, because that's where it's supposed to go. And yeah, so that was it. Oh yeah, no, and John, what you're talking about reminds me of, there's an old shibboleth on the internet. How's this go? When you're funding it, you call it artificial intelligence. When you're hired for it, you call it machine learning. And when you do it, it's called statistics. Though apparently, when you do it, it's actually just called linear algebra.
Yeah, so it is all linear algebra. Statistics are like an afterthought, I think, in the field. But yeah. And I
Okay,
think we have a
so
question.
so the question will lastly. Oh yeah, that's right. Uh, the other ground rule I wanted to set for later is that if you have a question, a substantive question, please put it on the chat, and we'll sort of try to get to those in order. So I guess I think one way for there to be a line for questioning would be like, as questions occur to you, please put them on the chat, and then I'll call on you. And if you don't, but if you don't want to be called on, then just don't answer, and they'll say like, oh, I guess this person wants to just stay off the recording. Okay, so next up is Aaron Horiuchi Green, and so Aaron, so what's your degree in?
My degree is a bachelor's in applied math. I got it a long time ago, about 2007. Was it, Dr. Shu? I had you for order differential.
2000. Yeah, yes. What's your current position? And being a while back, you've had a number of positions. And what's your current position?
My current position is a process manager at Syneos Health. And Syneos Health is a biopharmaceutical solutions firm. And just to give you an idea, let's consider COVID. During COVID, we had a people resource challenge. There was a very devastating event that occurred that continues to impact us to this day. Companies became very risk averse. They became very cash conscious. So we experienced as a company a hypergrowth. And in order to meet that hypergrowth exponentially, we needed to innovate how we worked, innovate where is our team located, how do we communicate, and how do we deliver success. And what success looks like is we provide our customers different types of solutions, whether it's medical affairs that help educate key opinion leaders in the industry to educate our customers about their pharmaceutical or biotech therapy that will benefit a certain patient's situation, shall we say. We have market access teams that work with the insurers in regards to utilization of the therapy and product coverage with the insurer. We have clinical nurse educators also that they will go in and they will provide disease education and how to utilize what our clients' products are offering and the benefit to the patient. We do have our sales and our engagement center teams that reach out to these healthcare facilities as well as healthcare professionals. And then we have our leadership team that really determines what is that strategic vision, what does that partnership and success look like. But where I sit within incentive compensations, I am part of deployment solutions on the commercial side of the business. We have a clinical side of the business that does everything from R&D all the way to commercialization. Now, incentive compensation is interesting. It is a contractual agreement with someone that is putting forth some sort of benefit to the customer and being rewarded accordingly. And people is one of our biggest resources, and understanding how to motivate them that is both successful to everyone in this partnership. So a lot of the math that we use technically, and because of the strict regulations within the healthcare industry, we do have to be careful of what information we have, how we receive it, store it, report on it. We do use a regression and time series analysis. So I actually really appreciate Dr. Crunk's statistics classes that I took, the regression analysis that I took. But of course, after I graduated, wonderful new opportunities San Jose State's offered, right? Because in the past you didn't have, I think you have something more geared towards data science, correct, Mr. Shu? Right? That wasn't there when I went to school. Take advantage of that. I believe that the statistics came about a year or two after I graduated. So I recommend that, but it really depends on, you know, what you're interested. I would say try different industries, figure out. I'm really loving the healthcare industry. I have tried Silicon Valley high tech. I have tried the security, and I'm really just enjoying being where I am in my industry, especially going through COVID and coming out of the tunnel and really looking at what has been the impact, right? So if you look at statistically, we lost a lot of healthcare professionals. And if you look at the gap, where that gap is pretty deep right now. We don't have an accelerated program that can cover the gaps. So we have this massive population within the United States that cannot consume based on, you know, just this gap in the education requirements and additionally whatever board exams that need to be passed. So it's been really interesting as we're trying to partner with our biopharmaceutical customers and educate the mass population, yet you have a completely shrunk population of people to educate, whose time was already just an filled plate of responsibilities. It's now even shrunk, the plate got small. So we are finding some challenges, and therefore we've had to innovate new ways to educate, to get our clients' products, their therapies or their biotech products educated to the patient. But regression analysis, time series analysis, that is huge right now, because that data, those outcomes are used as more of a post-mortem as we partner with our clients to let them know, I know you would like A, B, and C. C isn't working for you right now. In fact, it's hurting you, and you have all these market competitors, right? And if you keep going down this route, the writing is on the wall. Let's consider other options. And here are some options. And let's discuss how we can partner together and what does that alpha test or beta test look like? So we can see if it's giving you the results, the outcomes that we both agree on.
All right, cool. Oh, and Aaron, how did you get your current job? Actually, because I want to mention, we should mention that in the between since your undergraduate degree, you now have an MBA.
Oh, yes, I have an MBA. I am also Lean Six Sigma certified. I'm working on my green belt, so I'm really flexing a
Green
lot
belt.
of.
That's not a martial arts thing, is it?
No, no. I'm actually utilizing my math, but I'm converting it into business acumen that actually really hits very well with executive level presence. And it really depends on where you want to go. I'm trying to climb the management ladder, so it was needed. It's a supplement, but it really depends. I've got people that are biostatisticians. They're working on clients on the clinical side, and they're working on interesting analyses of, this is our control population, this is our test population, this is their current situation, and this is the kind of therapy program we put them on. What have been the results? And Syneos Health actually does a lot of posting. So they're doing a venture. I thought I saw a posting recently that had to do with lung cancer. And lung cancer is in my family tree. So I'm excited to see what are these new innovative therapy deliveries? What is that marketing strategy? How do we get our voice out there to say, hey, our client has a really great product. We want you to really take advantage of what's here. And sometimes access to information is our biggest problem here. We are bombarded by all types of information across all different modes of delivery, whether it's people, whether it's any device. And so that has been our greatest challenge since COVID.
Okay, cool. Thanks. Next up, Michael Montgomery.
Hey everyone, my name is Michael Montgomery. While I was at San Jose State, I had a bachelor in science in applied math with a concentration in applied computational math. And currently I'm an analyst for the city of San Jose's housing department, specifically with the grants and contracts team. So the housing department is kind of like probably like one of the major departments in the city, just in the sense of like we have our hands dipped in so many kind of different things, from residential development to homelessness to policy to so many kind of other things that kind of are very interdisciplinary. And so there's like a lot of opportunities to learn about policy and kind of like public service and kind of different things like that in this role so far. So it's been very interesting to kind of delve into that world since I've graduated.
So Aaron, who we just heard from, has a very long resume, and so, but you and John, and also John actually, and Mahmoud, you're all relatively new to the job market. So how did you get this job?
Yeah, so I graduated back in 2020. After graduating, I originally actually worked for the Small Business Administration for the federal government. It was a remote job and it was okay. It did good work, but I didn't really feel personally connected as if I had like a different kind of role per se. So while in college,
probably COVID played some role, and you have taken remote jobs.
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%. But it kind of felt very interpersonal to me, I guess. I didn't really feel, I guess, connected to like the community that I guess I could see outside my window, for example. And so because of that, I was just looking elsewhere. I was like looking for more San Jose kind of things. And then I remembered a couple of friends in college had talked about their experiences working for the city. So after that, I was like, oh, let me apply and look for something in the city. And lo and behold, an analyst position in the housing department was open up, and I found my stride over here after that. And I think it's my third year as of now. Essentially, working on the grants team, it's very, I guess, interdisciplinary in the sense of like we have our hands in policy and finance and data. It's kind of a world of where you kind of have to be an expert in kind of multiple things and wearing multiple hats at once, in a sense. As far as like finance, I didn't really have a finance background. So when we like award grant money to nonprofits, let's say do a homelessness program and house clients, for example, there's things like budgets and spending expenditures and kind of different accounting things that kind of go into that. So definitely my first year was definitely a very big learning experience in that sense of trying to kind of learn these things, but also kind of kind of find my own stride in the sense of like trying to do my own work in that sense. We also do like a lot of data work. So our nonprofits that we work with give us data on their programs every quarter, and in a sense that kind of life cycle kind of determines, hey, we have this amount of clients in this quarter. What can we use to predict, or what kind of methodologies can we use to predict, hey, quarter 4, how many clients do we think they're going to have in that quarter? So there's definitely like a lot of statistics, a lot of kind of statistical analysis that goes into that on our side. And kind of thinking back to my days at San Jose State, definitely Dr. Crunk's classes definitely were kind of very helpful in that sense of trying to kind of come up with those analyses and to kind of think outside the box in that sense, and to kind of do more looking back on analysis and stuff. So.
Okay, cool. Last but yeah, Dr. Krog, what? Last but not least, Mahmoud Rahmatullah.
Hello, hello. Thank you for having me, Dr. Shu. Great to see you again. So I actually just graduated last year in May with a degree in applied math, specifically applied in computational math. I recognize some of the names, so great to see all of you guys again. I work at Cisco as a business analyst. I got this job. I recently signed full-time, actually right after I graduated, but it wasn't like it was anything new for me. I interned there for a year my senior year at San Jose State, and then I was able to just sign on for full-time. I actually got that job. I remember how I got that job. I was sitting with a random classmate in Dr. Salim's class, 143M, and he was moving on from Cisco, and I was like, dude, hook it up. And he did. So that was really nice. And, it's brought me this far, so that was really nice. So in this job, Cisco, if anybody grew up in the San Jose or Milpitas area, it just basically takes up the entire Tasman Boulevard. And there's so many different moving parts in Cisco, but I particularly work in the partner organization. So Cisco, what they do, how they make most of their money, I guess, is they follow this partner model where they don't sell to customers directly, or they do, but they don't mainly sell to customers directly. What they do is they sell through partners. And a great way to describe that is a car company and car dealerships, because of all these state laws and things like that, companies don't exactly directly sell to customers. The companies don't exactly directly sell to customers. What they do is they sell to dealerships, and then from then dealerships sell directly to customers. So we do the same thing. We don't always sell directly to customers. We sell to our partners, and our partners sell for us. And in that whole way of selling, there's so much data involved around that, including sales data, including the numbers of partners, all that stuff. So I'm in that area, right, where every quarter we have all the sales data, and it's not exactly quantitative data, it's more qualitative data that I deal with, where in order to get our partners to sell for us, we got to make sure our partners are always happy. We got to make sure that they're, liking the product that we're selling. And they're our major source of feedback to the actual customers themselves in terms of how our products are working, how responsive we are as a company, how open to feedback we are, how well we communicate. So there's a lot of this data that comes in. So what I do is I'm more in the survey building side of things, where we send our surveys out to our different partners, and then they fill it out and then they send it back. And then through that, what I do is I take all this data, and I remember being exposed to large data sets through all my classes here. It was the first time I experienced large data sets and data manipulation and all that with sales data. And I do that. And what I do is I kind of manipulate it. I do a lot of cleaning for the data using a lot of pandas. I got introduced to that at San Jose State, a lot of pandas. And then through that, I kind of throw it onto a Tableau dashboard, and then I present it. So that's my whole job. In Cisco, with a lot of different moving parts, I'm pretty small speck in the entire system. That's how it usually goes for larger corporate companies. But it's nice to kind of see all the information that I've taken in at San Jose State being applied, kind of seeing this side of it. I do miss school a lot. I do miss it because, work is consistent. It's constant. School is, study, exam, break, right? Miss you too, Mega. But it's nice. It's nice to be in this, new side of things. So yeah, that's my entire scope of things. Aaron and John, you guys have a lot longer resumes. I'm new. I'm
Well,
new,
it's
but it's
Mahmood.
yeah,
If I'm saying your name correctly, apologies
that's
if I'm not.
perfect. That's
Just
perfect.
look at my last name, and you will see my father's been there for 25 years over.
No way. All
And
right, well,
you might enjoy seeing if they ever have a rotation program or an opportunity because they work with extremely large data sets. He started
yeah.
on manufacturing, now he's on service, and he started a project that has now gained so much insight because I think the company, it speaks for yourself about your product. Once the product leaves, right? How do you know that that partner contract is serving both parties' interests? Not until you look at the data collected, whether it's from a Cisco service provider or if it's a third party that's been trained and approved. You'd be very interested. It's a very, I would say, dynamic role. Lots of oversight, lots of exposure to data.
I think I might connect with your dad on LinkedIn then.
Tell him his daughter says hello.
I will definitely do that. See, the networking doesn't stop even after school. It's always
This
there.
is a great example. It is.
Yeah, the networking is always there.
Yeah, as John says in the chat here, are we in panel poaching right now? So yeah. Okay, cool. Thank you very much, everybody. And I am very so we were gonna have a. It's interesting. So everybody here is working with data, it would seem, at one level or another. And it's nice to know that John and Michael and Mahmoud are all new. And so somehow this is not the world's easiest atmosphere to get a job and something technically related right now. And I'm impressed that the three of you have gotten this. We're very happy to have you here. We were gonna have a fifth panelist whose degree is not in data. Is her degree, Catherine Shelley, and her degree is actually in well, more or less pure math. But I have to say, in between then and now, she got actually another degree in data science and is now a data scientist. So there you have it. Data is the place to be, even if sometimes you call it AI or machine learning. Okay, so I think what we're okay 3:35. Okay, everybody. So Judy, you want to say a few words about? So Judy, I made you a co-host in case you want to share your screen. But if you want to just say a few words about sort of what the Career Center has to offer and any suggestions, and then we'll just take questions. So get your questions ready, everybody.
Yeah, great. So first of all, hi to all the panelists. Hi, Erin. Good to see you again. It's been a while. I am so I'm the career counselor liaison actually for the College of Science. And I've been doing this for about 4 years. And I'm so happy to be a part of this panel. Couple things I want to mention. Number one, for all of the students that are listening today, we just kicked off our career fairs for spring, and our STEM fairs are next week. So we have 2 undergraduate STEM fairs on Tuesday and Wednesday, and then a graduate fair on Thursday, which is going to be virtual. The undergrad fairs are in person. And I'm really looking forward to seeing who's doing the hiring, and because we are in a interesting market right now. We just hosted our business fair today, our first fair, and definitely saw some fewer employers than we have in the past. And I think it's sort of a reflection of maybe the market right now, but there are a lot of opportunities out there. So I mentioned I'll just promote the STEM fairs a little bit. And then I am so glad to be a part of this because I also coordinate alumni panels every semester now for the College of Science. And I'm in the process of putting one together for this spring, which will be in April. And I think most of the panels I've gotten at least one of the math or stat folks to join the panel. But I look at all the different majors and look for alumni to join us and pretty much talk about what all of you are doing is like, tell us about your time at SJSU. How did you find your current jobs? And sometimes it's so totally random how you find your jobs, and other times it's through someone else, through referrals. So, I advise students to listen to all of you and hear your experiences. And I think they're also going to find out that it's not linear, that they're going to maybe have to go through some hoops, and the job they want may not come right away, or they're going to find something that they never anticipated that they absolutely love. And I think that's, how this whole thing works. So thanks for inviting me. I'm glad to be here. I'm glad I'm learning a lot from listening to all of you.
Okay, so fantastic. So I'm going to remind everyone one more time. Oh yeah, actually, so a couple reminders. One thing there are two things I just put on the chat, and actually the first thing I'll just put on again. So I just put a link to the Career Center itself on the chat. So it's careercenter.sjsu.edu. Judy, that's right. Anyway, careercenter.sjsu.edu. Go there, and if people want to join the career fair next Wednesday, how do they do that?
Yeah, so they can register on Handshake. Everything's on Handshake. The fair, all of our fairs are there. You can actually look at all the different employers that are going to be there and look at their postings ahead of time before you go. Or if you can't make it, you can still, access all of them through Handshake and apply. And seeing that it's a week from now, we still have a few more days. So there may be still some employers that we haven't quite finalized yet. But yeah, by all means, there'll be, there you go. There's somebody who said they got their job through Handshake. So thank you. It is possible. It is absolutely possible. Yeah.
So Judy, how do people get? I have the same. I forget about Handshake. How to use Handshake every year right after we do this. How do students get started on Handshake? Is there a link you can put in the chat?
Yeah. So students are automatically, when they become enrolled here, they're automatically in Handshake. And so any student can access it, and students can go in and use Handshake for looking for jobs and internships. But we also post all of our events and webinars and everything. And then there are other events that we don't post that it's a number of universities use it. It's a pretty common website. But the idea is that many, if not most of the employers are looking for students for their opportunities. It's not like looking for a job on Indeed or LinkedIn where they want experience. And I talk to a lot of students that look at those jobs and they say, I don't have 3 or 4 years of experience. And I tell them, look at Handshake. Check that out for sure. So, but in addition to that, the importance of networking, can't stress that enough, because we have a lot of students that sort of rely on job boards, and you just can't be doing that. You can go there and look and apply, but it's going to be a matter of connecting with classmates and joining relevant student orgs. And there are quite a few of them in this college to join and connect with. And I know alumni that got their internships and sometimes jobs through those connections. So, yeah.
There we go. And so I think the link that I put on the chat is a place where you can sort of get started with Handshake. It's a specific link, right? careercenter.sjsu.edu/resources/SJSU Handshake. And then
and if they go on our Career Center website, we have a link. They can access Handshake that way too, but it's pretty easy. Yeah.
So yeah, it's all there. And I just want to ask, Ariane, if you're in a position to answer, even if on the chat, you just put a link that's sjsu.joinhandshake.com/Stu. What is that link?
What? All right, let me.
Yeah, that takes you to Handshake.
Oh, that also takes you to Handshake. That takes you directly to Handshake for that. Okay.
Yeah.
So right. So great. Yeah. Once and presumably after, and is that after you register with an account, or sort of even before?
Oh yeah, you just log in with your SJSU credentials there.
Oh, I see.
That's right.
So that's the login to Handshake.
Log in with your SJSU ID.
Okay, yeah. So this is not something you have to register for. You're already on it. You're already a member. So yeah. So go.
Yep.
So go use that. It's great. Okay. So Mega. So now we're gonna go to questions. So Mega, go ahead and ask questions. I feel that you might want to ask. Go ahead and open up your mic and ask questions. What do you want? What do you want to know about the graduate STEM event?
Yeah, so for the graduate STEM event hosted by the Career Center, I remember checking in on that a couple days ago and it said registration wasn't open, but I don't remember when the registration date is and I can't find the link anymore. So I was just wondering when registration for the event opens.
Um, you're a graduate student, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's a week from tomorrow. So you should be able to get into it by now. Or by tomorrow. I know this fair is going to be virtual for one thing. It's not going to be in person like the other fairs are. We're going to have fewer employers. It seems like a majority of our employers are looking for bachelors, to be honest, interestingly enough. But you should be able to access it. I think registration will probably open tomorrow if at the latest. And the online career fair is a little bit different. It does work differently. So when you look at the different employers on Handshake, how this works is you will see a couple of things. These employers will have, number one, group sessions, like 30 minutes. They'll have a few of them throughout the event, which is from noon to 4. And you would be able to sign up and just attend, just listen to a presentation by the company and they'll say, this is what we're hiring for and the kind of qualifications we're looking for, things like that, for like a group session. And there should be, maybe 3 or 4 of those. And then if you actually want to talk to someone, to a recruiter, there will be 10-minute slots. They'll be timed. They will be also in Handshake, and you pick a 10-minute slot, and it's for actually a one-on-one interview, but it's so short an amount of time, it's more like a phone screen. So if you feel confident that you'd like to talk to somebody directly about your qualifications, you will be able to book that, but those will fill up fast. And so that's a thing to keep an eye open for. But that being said, for students that decide to, schedule something and then all of a sudden can't make it, we really highly recommend that they cancel their appointment at that time so another student can step in. So it's run a little bit differently, but worth checking out.
So just to follow up on something you said there, that seems unusual to me that they're looking for more bachelor's candidates than graduate candidates.
Yeah.
So Judy, or actually Aaron, since you're also on the hiring side of things, do you have? Oh, so is that they're just because bachelor students are cheaper?
Well, you saw how COVID has impacted this world. Now we have this whole globalization effort. We have this dense generational people resource market right now. So, if you think about it from a company's lens, they're trying to maximize with whatever reduced funding that they've been impacted by COVID. Ever since COVID, these layoffs have not stopped. You've seen it throughout every industry, even the industry I'm in.
Still happening, still going on, as we know.
Even though your industry is sort of the solution to the problem that's causing all the layoffs.
Everyone's been impacted. I just can't say any details.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. But okay, all right, so that makes sense. So that doesn't actually make sense because bachelor's degree people with bachelor's degrees are paid less. There we go.
Yes. At least the employers that we connect with, there are a lot of I tell students go to Handshake anyway because there are a lot more employers there than are going to be coming to our career fair. So look at everything. But again, I really emphasize that look at the websites and look on these job boards, but network. And this is where I just really push LinkedIn and trying to coach students how to connect with other people, with alumni, and a lot of students have a they're a little more challenged about that. But in the end, like when I hear from alumni who tell us that networking really paid off, that's the thing. So it just takes some time and knowing people, and that's what moves you through your career as well, because you're not necessarily going to stay with the same company. You're going to move on, and talk to so many alumni about that as well. So,
Dr. Shu, do you still have the math club?
The answer was no for last year's, but it's back actually.
Oh, good.
Why do you ask?
Well, way back when. I remember we went and filled out a form funding to go to math related conferences. And out of those conferences, people actually ended up finding the industry or the career they wanted and created their own handshake.
Oh, interesting. They're their own literal handshake. Yeah. I mean, another alum, Jake Askelin, who's one of our more famous alums.
Perfect example.
Perfect example. He was really interested in self-driving cars before they were all hip, and actually before you could get one, you could take a taxi ride in one in San Francisco. And he was just so interested in that. But I think must be about 10 years ago. And 10 to 15 years ago. Anyway, time flies. But he just went to every single self-driving car conference and workshop and that he could possibly, and he was an undergraduate, and he was like, I don't have no idea what's going on. I'm just really interested in this. And so he would just tag along, he would go and go. And he sort of by doing enough of that, he got a foot in the door. And then we should definitely mention CamCos. So our local project called CamCos, which recently has had a lot of projects with Ethereum, the number two cryptocurrency in the world, sort of building the security foundation for that cryptocurrency, which is a really neat thing. Anyway, whether even if you're not particularly interested in crypto, and even if that's not like what you're interested in looking at, just the fact that having your resume that you worked for this company and did something that people actually paid money for, that's a really big deal. And I think that still really stands out on a resume. Anyway, yeah, Dogecoin is Dogecoin really number two? I thought it was Ethereum. Yeah, Ethereum is number two. Okay. Oh yeah, and just to mention, Aaron has now actually put a statistics scholarship. So yeah, hopefully this will be on YouTube. And if it is, I will make sure to copy all the links that are in the chat into the comments of the YouTube. So if you're watching this on YouTube, which I hope some people are, go look down here. There's like some there'll be a link to the statistics scholarship, the Ellisott Scholarships. Applications due by April 1st. All right. Anyway, as we promised, okay, we have about 25 minutes left, and so as we promised, we're going to open up the floor for questions. And so there you see again the folks who are on the panel and where they work. So Ariane, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much for the event. First off, it was great to hear from everyone. I just want to ask, as I'm someone who's going into my junior year, and now I have kind of flexibility of what kind of classes I really want to take, especially with the CS classes. They let you choose. They're like, oh, you can pick any out of these. Are there any classes which any of you would recommend that was super helpful?
Did you say CS, computer science elective?
Yeah, in CS, our math classes, which came in really handy in like real world problems.
Right now, I use Python wrapped PostgreSQL to automate a lot of data manipulation tasks. Let's see, John.
John, go ahead.
Wait, what's up?
What
classes?
What classes come to mind as being particularly useful to take? So something undergraduate classes for a junior or senior.
Yeah, I think like you'll get a lot of experience using Python and in an applied way in any of the machine learning courses. I'm trying to think who my professor was for oh wait, did you say undergraduate classes?
I mean, there is actually now a Python programming class, which I forget what it is.
Is that with ESA?
It's in the CS department. There's like a sort of
okay.
like there's oops, I keep hitting this. there's a sort of like big league Python, like professional Python. Like there's two.
Mm,
I believe there are two Python classes. There's a sort of a beginners Python, and then there's like Python for professionals, and that's something like that. And so that one's CS 122. Does that sound right to everybody? I'm going to go Google that, and I'll get back to you. But there is a definitely there are definitely Python classes that are helpful, that are suitable for future employment, I guess, if that's what you're asking. So John, you would recommend taking a Python class?
yeah, take Python, take some applied machine learning courses. I can't be helpful for the undergrad programs. I didn't go here as an undergraduate, but like something like Math 251, like if you can, take a graduate class and that stuff, you get a lot of hands-on experience. Not really for back ends, but for like research. But if you want back end, I'm not too sure.
Mhm. Well, I have one more question. Are there any sort of projects you would recommend doing to get my hands into the thing? I've made a couple of normal projects, as in like a stock market predictor or even a deep voice classification model, but that's pretty much it. So I was thinking if anything which will help me get an internship potentially, which will look good, and you recommend it.
So all right, these are things you
Yeah.
have up on your GitHub or something?
Collaborate with people on GitHub. GitHub, by the way, they look at the activity, they will look at your account, and they will directly reach out to you for a job.
Okay. I need to get on that. I'm not as active.
Yeah, there's
Thank you
Are you
so much.
looking?
contests. There was one
Go ahead.
contest where 3 people worked on a project. It was a front-end mobile application, and there was math and computer science involved, of course, but they ended up winning, I don't know, it was like 6 figures, split them on the 3, and they each got a job out of that.
Yeah, my question for you would be, what are you trying to get a job in, right? I think that's what's going to direct what
Very
projects you want.
similar to what you do, I would say.
Okay.
A lot of
Um,
machine learning and dealing with data.
so the current hot stuff right now, like in machine learning, and I think what will impress people is like one, I'll just put it in the chat, like meta learning. You want to know your stuff with like transformer-based models. So a lot of this can be like, yeah, like NLPs. Um, and then And actually, people really, really like data augmentation. So, like data augmentation projects, data robustness. So, yeah, these are kind of some buzzwords, but yeah, anything in natural language processing right now is very hot. But like the underpinning to that is transformers. So, understanding how to apply transformers to language, to vision, projects in that area.
So people
Thank
love
you
the
so
chat
much.
GPT. Thank you, Arian. I sorry to interrupt. And people love the chat GPT.
Yeah, and there's like they're realizing that there's not too much scope with the business applications of like just random GPTs generated by random companies. But so so I went to NeurIPS like last year, and I can tell you firsthand that like those models are like really, really focused on right now. That's what everyone is doing. They're doing natural language processing. So yeah.
Cool. Okay, next question. You can either ask it, just open up your mic and ask. Hopefully you signed the release, or just put it on the chat if you're feeling more shy.
Yeah, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Still trying to formulate it right now, so it might not come out coherent, but it's for Aaron and Michael mostly. So I'm one of the forlorn graduate students. And I'm in applied math, and it sounds like there's a lot of from you four, there's a lot of statistics emphasis. So I'm wondering how much, like in the hiring process, that would affect a decision to, or how that might affect my hireability and, uh, yeah, basically that, and what sets candidates apart from each other. for hiring.
Yeah. So the question is, what can you, if you're a grad student and a master's student in applied math, and I think Judy can probably speak to this as well. What can you do? What can you put on your resume that will make your resume stand out? So yeah,
Good
let's
question.
start. Yeah, good
Go ahead,
question. So
Michael.
It is a good question. Yeah. I'll defer to the panel first and see, especially his first part of question about statistics. Like
yeah,
what
let's
is
let's start with Aaron because you're on the hiring end of the committees these days.
I'm gonna be honest, I'm a tough interviewer. So what I try to do is ask questions that really uncover the difference between your ability to read a room, identify, what is our goal? Who do we need to partner with? What is your communication strategy? And then how are you going to go about operationalizing that and closing that out? What I have noticed is that there are still a lot of people in this industry of all generations. We really love Excel. It's just our cornerstone. If you can set yourself apart from that using more new age tools, then you are already ahead of the curve. When I graduated just with my undergraduate degree and focusing more towards statistics, I felt that I was prepared from an analytical mindset. Where I lacked substance was the business acumen. That was my greatest pitfall. As soon as I, swallowed that bitter pill, I went ahead and I addressed that. So something you want to address yourself is you're going to a company. What is their product? What's going on in the industry and the market? How can you provide value to them? Right? Math is not as a widely accepted skill. There's a lot of people that fear math. There's this big stigma, and getting beyond that in a conversation is already a success. They may not even send you a test. I've done interviews where I have described how I would go about the example use case. They didn't even bother sending me the Excel test. In fact, the company I'm at now didn't even send me the Excel test because I was able to eloquently address the issue. So work on your public speaking, work on how you're going to take your math skills and address it in a business setting. There's responsibility, there's accountability, there's impact and continuous innovation.
So Michael, you're not brand new. Have you actually been able to be on a hiring committee yet, or sort of?
Actually, yeah, once relatively recently.
So can you say a few words about what among the successful candidates, and this is for the city of San Jose for housing?
Yeah.
So among the successful candidates, what stood out? Can you say?
No, yeah, I would definitely say kind of what Aaron touched upon, which was the communication aspect, right? I mean, like, I think I view our job, or at least my job, as like an analyst as being able to kind of effectually communicate what the numbers are and kind of tell a story that way. Being able to write up a report, and that might not go to someone who's like very familiar with like statistical analysis or something, and kind of explain a story and kind of someone, whether it's a council member or whoever, right? So I think something that we've looked for in like successful candidates is someone who's able to have all the background in that, but also be able to kind of accurately communicate and we all have our communication styles, right? But like being able to communicate in a way that can best portray the data in a story per se. So that's kind of my experience recently in the public sector side. I could probably go on and on about like interviewing for the private sector and projects and stuff like that, but that's my experience so far with the public sector. So
that's right. That's actually something we hear all the time. All these things that we make you do in class, like stand up and talk, present things at the board. Turns out that this is what gets you hired, or one of the things that gets you hired. So there's a reason we make you do that. Judy, do you want to talk some what the Career Center advice is for how to make your resume stand out, how to make yourself more marketable?
Yeah.
And how to interview well as well.
Well, we have all sorts of resources on this. We have an interview guide, and students can make appointments with us. One of the first things I say when I tell students when they're looking and is like, do you know anybody who works at that company? It's like one of the first things I ask them. And I go, reach out to them if you do. And then if they don't, this is where I really talk about the importance of having a LinkedIn profile. Is I've been here long enough where I can go on LinkedIn and probably find at least one alumni from San Jose who works at a company, in many cases more. Like Cisco, perfect example. I have no idea how many alumni work at Cisco. A lot, I'm sure. But I think, there's no way like setting yourself apart on a resume is pretty difficult. I think that you have to look at you have to be as much a match as possible. Look at the qualifications on the posting. One of the things I find is students have trouble customizing their resumes for jobs. You have to do that. You have to show, when we look at Handshake and there's a litany of qualifications, look at all those and do you have this and this and this and this as much as possible? And I think you have to have a good, 75% or more to be considered, but think about all the competition. There's so many other applicants, your resume is being screened, and how you set yourself apart on a resume is pretty difficult. I think it's really a matter of, this is where I think networking is so critical, is that you have to see if you know people that work there or used to work there, or there's more to that. And and the networking aspect is hard for most students. I mean, some students get it, they're really good at it. And I think that's how they get, jobs. So that is just so important. And actually, Michael, I'm glad you just spoke. So on that note, we have really good partnership with the city of San Jose, and we actually have a career day coming up the end of March. And the city is hiring, and students can look at all of their departments. And but yeah, it's our second one we've done, and it's in the Rotunda, and it's coming up in a little over a month. So there'll be a lot of hiring opportunities for sure, from what I understand, probably including housing.
Yeah, and now you know somebody there. You can come by and say hi.
That's right.
So yeah, come by, say hi. I will. I was there for the first one, so I'll definitely be there for the
That's right. Okay, yeah, last spring. Yeah, great.
Yeah, right. So just to review everybody's personal story. So John, you got your job through the and Keitel, we'll come back to you. I think there was one person before you. Let me say something, and then Kimberly and Keitel. But just to review quickly, John, you got your job through an internship. How did you get the internship?
Handshake.
And how did you know to look on Handshake for this?
When I was at UCSD, like Handshake was a big thing, and honestly, like all the best, most fitting jobs are on Handshake. Like LinkedIn kind of sucks, so it was LinkedIn or Handshake, and so I went to Handshake, right? Yeah.
Well, I'd say
Good for you.
LinkedIn
That's great.
is excellent for getting in contact with alums, because that's how I got all you, I think. But yeah, yes, Handshake seems to be the place to go. And let's see, and then Aaron, do you remember how you got your first job?
It was through, account temps in San Jose or Santa.
Oh, yeah.
It was a contract role, never heard of it. I needed money, I had to pay rent.
And this was after college?
It was slightly after college. I was transitioning out of my college job as a bank teller at Wells Fargo way back when. And when I applied, I said, oh, okay, well, let me go ahead and try this out. Let me try being this accountant at a biotech firm. And I realized that even with my math degree, I understood my personality, which was I enjoy being in the mix of the fray and not some person that wants to go in 9 to 5 every day, do the same thing over and over again. So once you figure out your personality and what you're interested in, then you'll be able to better focus the career you're heading. I'm not into sports, but I can appreciate what FanDuel has done and how they've changed the view of analytics and the betting strategy. It's amazing, and I am not promoting gambling in any way. I'm fascinated because even though people have this stigma and fear towards math, they're fascinated by all these numbers and they rely on it and they research it.
That is a really interesting end for making math approachable. That's great. Let's see. Right, and Michael, remind everyone how you got your job.
So out of college, I originally worked for the Small Business Administration, and it was really just like applying online for the most part. Wasn't really like super duper stringent. And same thing for the city. I kind of just applied online for the most
So
part.
you just applied everywhere.
Yes.
All right. Well, applying everywhere is, it may not be sufficient, but I think it is kind of necessary. And then Mahmoud, you said you had a buddy in class.
Yeah, so that was how I got this job, but kind of like speaking on how I got other interviews and job offers, aside from this one, a huge thing that I found helpful, I was really annoying actually, with how I did it. LinkedIn was my best friend, sorry, John, with getting all these different, interviews and things like that. What I would do is I would find all these different jobs that I found that I liked on LinkedIn, and I would find a connection that worked there that I had. And if I didn't have a connection, I would look at different like school alumni that was there, and I would connect with them. And then after I'd connect with them, I would ask them for a referral. And then after I'd ask them for a referral, I'd ask them to find out who the hiring manager was. And then I would message the hiring manager myself to kind of stand out. I was really annoying about this. But what I learned that this did was, first, it showed how much I wanted it, because I don't really have too much experience with applying for like small things. I usually focused my job hunt on larger corporate companies or larger tech companies. I realized that when you get referrals for these companies, essentially you're moving from a pile of millions of applicants to a pile of thousands. It's honestly not going to do much. You're still amongst a bunch of different applicants, right? But when you do stuff like this and you message the hiring manager and you message the recruiter and you constantly message them, they're going to remember your name. Even if you don't have the best skills or you don't match everything that the job description says itself, they're going to remember your name, right? And then that'll give you a higher chance of being pushed for an interview. It'll help if you actually get the person referring you to message the hiring manager themselves for you. You essentially just have to be really annoying about it. And doing all this shows a little bit of confidence, which kind of speaks on your personality. And going to, I think what John said in the chat, actually, it's not about what you can do. It's, who they like the best. If you show confidence, if you show that you're able to bounce off the interviewer's energy and things like that, interviewers' energy and things like that, they're gonna take more kindly to you. Yeah, and what Aaron said in the chat is actually really important too. So yeah, so that's what I've learned. That got me a lot of interviews and other offers, and I still chose Cisco because I liked the team that I was on.
Cool. So great. That actually works. Everybody can hear me. So yeah. So again, I think the two themes there are both personal connections and persistence. Those are the themes of the day. Okay. Let's go. I want to go back and get some questions that are on the chat. Kimberlian, you want to repeat your question, or if you're not there still, if you don't, I'll just read it. Okay, I'll just take it off the chat. Okay, so I have to admit, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing your name incorrectly, but the question was, I'm a junior this year. My major is mathematics. What field would you say that I should look into? And so I wanted to answer that personally, because I'm going to give the same answer I give every year in this, which is that this is sort of both the blessing and the curse of being in math, especially if you're just in like sort of pure math. On the one hand, the curse is there's not anything in particular that you're pointed to. Like, if you get a degree in electrical engineering, well, you should go be an electrical engineer. but there are really very few positions out there called mathematician. On the other hand, the blessing of it is that you can do anything, sort of, in some ways, because I think three of our half of our panelists had me for a class, and I think you might sort of, not to honk my own horn too much, but toot my own horn too much, but you might think that, well, if I got through Shu's class, I can do anything. This is the thing I've heard. How hard could it be? Whatever it is that you have to learn at work, how hard is it really going to be harder than real analysis 1 with Shu? No, it's not going to be that much harder. So that sort of, some might say confidence, some might say arrogance, but well, a little arrogance is not so bad when you want a job. Not a lot, but like a little bit of sort of, if not knowing it well enough to know that you can't do it, sometimes that allows you to do it. So I think the advice that seems to have worked well for our previous graduates who do not have necessarily specific things that they're aimed towards is that, like our great example of Jake Askeland, who went into self-driving cars, pick something you really are interested in, and then sort of work out how to combine that with math. I think Aaron, what was your answer to Keitel's question? Like take electives that only add synergy with your math classes.
Don't waste your time. Don't waste your money. I've been there. I've done that. And math is it's what I'm passionate about. It's just what stuck with me. And math will take you places. I guarantee you other degrees will pigeonhole you.
Yeah. So I mean, so on the one hand, you're not necessarily pigeonholed into doing one thing, but on the other hand, you can kind of do anything. So pick the thing that you find you are passionate about. I mean, I think there's Jake, who's self-driving cars. There's another alum we had for a while who was really interested in the environment, and he ended up getting a logistical job at the EPA. So he was able to combine the sort of
Amit Kumar.
Amit, yeah, that's right. Yes. Yeah. So he was able to. He sort of took his analytical skills and sort of critical thinking skills that he picked up in math, and said, now I can take that and solve the problems that you have, like buying stuff for the EPA. And I should go figure out what he's up to these days. So anyway, sorry, I don't, but anyway, I really wanted to make that point, because that is something. If you're sitting there and you have your sort of degree in the mathematical sciences, and you feel sort of like, what am I going to do now? You can do anything. I mean, on the other hand, you can do anything, which is actually sort of a problem, right? Like, oh my God, I can do anything. Like, what is it that I really want to do? That's a hard question. But take heart that that other things really aren't as hard. All right. So are there other questions here as we get down to closer to the end of time, the end of our time? There's a little bit of background noise, but it's okay. All right. I think if there are no other questions, and we have come to the end of our time, I think probably people got to leave for class. Let's thank our panelists again for right. Are there demographic? Okay, Natalia had an interesting question. Are there demographic distributions or statistics about what math majors are doing after San Jose State? We've worked on this. We've worked on this for many years, and I'm not sure we're how far we've gotten on this. It's a little outside of it. Because we have a sort of LinkedIn, which is maybe, I don't know how representative a sample that is, but keep reminding me. I'm a good person to remind about this sort of thing, and maybe I won't do it, but I'll get somebody else to do it. I'm old enough that I can now get other people to do things occasionally. So Natalia, this is a great question, and remind me, and I'll let you know what specifically our majors are doing. But as I was saying, let's thank our panelists again. Yay! Say yay in person, or put the clappy hands on the reactions. And I think and I think maybe what we'll do is we'll turn the recording off momentarily, and then if there are a few other questions, you can sort of stick around for a little bit. But anyway, thanks very much for our panelists, and thanks very much for all the participants for showing up and asking questions. And good luck to everybody. God bless. See you around. But yeah, stick around if you want. If you maybe have one or two questions you have that you just didn't want to ask, have recorded for posterity. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Everybody still on?
I gotta stop the recording. Oh well. Anyway, there we go.